The approach to mixing guitars can vary from project to project, due to the different source tones that were captured. In this clip, Josh shows you how he manages multiple guitar tones from different songs on the Tallah record, and he shows you what's going on the guitar mix bus. Check it out and enjoy.
So let's look at our 6-string bus, which is where we're going to find all these guitars. I'll start with rhythms, because rhythms are the most important thing when it comes to, the overall sound of your record, right? Like that's the thing that's happening all the time. Leads come in and out, but there's different things. There's reverbs, there's delays, there's choruses, wah, you name it. There's a lot of stuff happening to change the tone. Whereas the rhythm is kind of like a backbone of the song, and it needs to be right. So let's scroll down and see where we're at. Old EP stuff. So I kept a lot of the old EP stuff, and that was done. I'm not sure how they recorded that, if that was live amps or what it was exactly, but there were some strange decisions in terms of like center guitars. I don't know. I tried to ask them and figure it out, but they had a different guitarist in the band at the time. So there's a whole different set of circumstances with their old EP that I would have done definitely differently. Like center guitars that all they end up doing is maybe clouding your vocal, but you only have one, and it's a crucial part of the song. So trying to figure out where you're supposed to pan those things, and it's one of those things. It's just a lot of managing and trying to figure out what the design philosophy was behind that. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just like you're not thinking about it. You're not having the conversation as to why you're doing what you're doing. So then you have to try to solve it with what you're doing and EQs and stuff. So I don't like that. I like to know what's going on. So for me, when we did rhythms, let's just scroll past. This is all, you can see it's all over here. So this is all old EP things. Let's go down to this, which is the main rhythms of the song. Let's go into Overconfidence. And again, not a lot of editing, right? Like you're seeing, these are all just the takes in there. I still have take comps. There's 3 takes here and 2 there. Let it, play it. Again, not much editing going on here. You can even see a little blip. There's probably a little error. Let's just hear this rhythm section. Some effects on it. And that's right. He had a big pedal board. I remember scrubbing through that VHS footage and taking some stuff of his big pedal board. So again, a lot of stuff on the way in gets taken care of. We had like an HM2 pedal. I know for sure. I love the sound of those things. Those are really cool. I need to get one. Just sounds like a chainsaw. Man, I love the sound of that thing. There's one part in one of these songs that, what song is it that starts off with that thing? It just sounds gnarly. I love it. So, okay. Let's hear some more stuff. Sounds good. Sounds like a 5153, right?
Sounds gnarly.
Yeah. And Derek's a great player. Great guitarist. So I don't want to do much to it, because the more I edit it, the less it's going to sound like Derek, the more it's going to sound like a gridded out thing. And again, for some productions, you might want to do that. You might want it to be a little more super fantastical. But with this kind of stuff, again, the name of the game is raw. The name of the game is, it's like an animal. You know what I mean? Just visually, everything about the band, it just makes sense. So we're doing some stuff EQ-wise. Again, just to sculpt the tone. Let's just get rid of all this shit. So it sounds a little dull, right? So I'm just trying to bring out some clarity. And I found a problem right around here. It seems like, right? Let's hear what that sounds like. No, we don't need that. We don't need that whistly toothbrush, whatever the heck sound that is. Nope, get rid of that. So yeah, by boosting the top end, you're also boosting other frequencies that you don't like. And there are a million other people that will give you more in-depth stuff, that are, through Nail the Mix. But yeah, it's just essentially bringing out some, I guess I like some stuff around here, around 4.7, right? Yeah, that high is overboard, but there's a little bit of clarity in there that I seem to like. And apparently I was boosting around 1400. I probably can't even hear that high, but I guess I like the air that it was giving it. Okay, so that's good. And there's a little bit of gain compensation. Okay, so I have this pitch thing. Again, the pitch thing, right? We saw that in the King session. So where am I using that? Oh, here in Murder Seed. So it's bringing up a little bit of a low octave, and this is after distortion, as opposed to like a Digitech whammy pedal where you'll put, and we use that for sure on this record. And what that does is you're distorting a pitched signal, which is very different than doing this, which is a post processing of you're taking the distortion and now you're messing with it. That sounds sick. That is a combination of the HM. Let me just take off the pitch because it's not going to do quite as much as you might think. Okay, so that's the HM2. And that's like I just call it like the Japanese buzzsaw because there's a bunch of different HM2s and a lot of people prefer the Japanese made one. And you can find YouTube videos that compare them. And depending on where in the world they're made, they have a slightly different character. And the Japanese ones are just highly sought after because they have just the right amount of, I don't know, there's a certain chainsaw sound and I love it. I need to get one. I need to have one because I just love this sound. That's nasty. That's a nasty guitar tone. And so I've made similar things with a Kemper. You can do something similar. It's like a wave shaping kind of a thing. But it affects essentially you're affecting the dry tone and messing with some frequencies. I don't know exactly how they work, but there are ways in the Kemper to recreate that kind of a thing. Not exactly the same, but it gives the same kind of idea. So I have a stereo enhancer. So it looks like it's just like a stereo spread thing. Again, another default Reaper thing. Let's hear without it. Actually, let's go back to Overconfidence. This is supposed to be on Overconfidence. So let's hear a more normal tone that isn't so wild. Let's hear the chorus. And see, this is why I like having an album all in one session. You see that? I can jump to one song. I can jump to another song instantly. I don't have to load a whole new session. I love working this way. And maybe I'm just indulging my own ADHD tendencies. But it's just, to me, it just makes my whole workflow so much faster. I can see the whole picture of the record and jump, move around. If I get bored of working one song, I work on something else. So anyhow, so this is the chorus. Sounds good with the stereo enhancer. Just a little bit more width. I don't like it too much. If you mess around with it too much, you can get into phase problems. But what this does is, yeah, it's making it wider. I don't know too much about how the way these things work, to be completely honest. I'll just move levels until I like the way it sounds. You know what I mean? And just, again, trust your ears. You know what I mean? You don't have to really worry about how this was coded or all that kind of stuff. Have not to discourage, just having good understanding of your tools, but like at the end of the day, they are supposed to emit a sound that you like. And all of the knowledge of the numbers doesn't mean anything if how you're manipulating it isn't giving you the right result, right? It's the why. Why are you doing this? How? Sure. Anybody, a million people could explain how this works, but like why is such the important thing. So that's that. So it gives a little bit of width to the rhythm guitars. Hold on a second. So I had these on, right? These were all on, weren't they? Eyal, do you remember? I think so. Yeah, that sounds, I think, about right, how the final tone sounds. I don't think this is a problem. You go back in and you're trying to, you take things off and you put things back on. It's like, did I have that bypass? Was it just there as like an idea that I didn't like later on? But I think that sounds about right. So I have two different Pro MB filters going on. And let me just figure out exactly why I'm doing that. So I'm doing something with the high end. Looks like I was not, oh, okay. This is something that I'll do. I think I was ducking some of this high end to make way for some vocals. Just to get a little more clarity, because I felt like Justin, he's kind of animalistic on the vocals, and he almost sounds like a guitar sometimes. He's just crazy. And I felt like sometimes the high end of the guitar and the vocals would compete. So I would duck a little bit of the high end, and then when he's not screaming and going nuts, that we get a little more clarity of the guitar because your ear will follow the vocals, and then once the vocals go away, we're starting to listen to the guitar a little bit more. And I see, let's see if I'm right about, vocals. Okay, so I'm sending this from the vocals, the main overall vocal bus, right? That's channel 9. Let's just make sure I'm being accurate. Yep, that's the entire vocal sum of all the vocals. So you want to be conscious of that, because if you add a lot of layers, all of a sudden you're really ducking in that high end. But then you're probably the vocals are probably the focus, right? If you're layering 10, 20 vocals. So I've adjusted it in such a way to compensate properly for all these other things building up. And let me get back to where I was. I need that shortcut, right? Whoever suggested that. I need to buy you a copy of Reaper. Okay. So, but it's not doing too much. But we are hearing vocals. Let's unsolo this guitar and listen to the vocals and watch what's going on here. So it's just ducking a little bit of the rhythm guitars, again, to allow some clarity, because these things can compete, and Justin's voice can really like shift up in a high range, and a lot of times I want that to stick out, but not drastic with it. Like I could go nuts. Let's go nuts with it and see what it sounds like. I mean, it works, right? It really does add even more clarity. So it's about finding the balance of what balance do you want between guitars and vocals. And I talked about this the other day on one of the videos I did about how you can only really focus on one thing at a time, like truly and clearly. And this follows that same principle, that when the vocals are there and you're listening to vocals, passive, let's say like semi-passively, as most people listen to music. You're not intent, like what we're doing right now is about as critically as you could listen to music, right? But if you're listening to it passively, you're only really focusing on one thing at a time at best, because you can't. So once the vocals leave, your ear wanders to something else. If you're focusing on the main point of the song, or if you're focusing on drums and the drums stop, your ear has to go somewhere. You're talking to someone and there's a conversation and there's hundreds of people and you're talking to somebody. That person leaves, where your ears have to go somewhere as you start paying attention to other conversations. So you focus on one thing at once. And this type of clarity is supposed to draw your ear back to the guitars once Justin's stopping, because the guitars are interesting. But I didn't want to get too crazy with it, but just just enough to make that clear, and so it's conscious of the vocals. And then this low end, I have another one here, and this is something different. This is probably just trying to get rid of buildup that happens, because chugging and stuff, and it can just build up a lot on the low end. I was gonna say right there, it's probably gonna really build up a lot, right? Yeah, it just cuts out some of that muddiness. Oh yeah, you can hear that's just not what you want to hear, in that spot. It just sticks out in a way that's not pleasant.